today's coffee clip, we're going to be looking at blog posts and ways that we can enhance them to improve the quality of the article, the amount of content that we can put in there that will benefit both your reader and also search engines as well. So you can improve your rankings by just making sure you can add these few little bits and pieces to your posts. So if I start off with a standard template, we've got our title. Usually recommend around 56 characters. It's good for search engines, plus that's the perfect length that you'll see in a Google search results page before you see the three dots, so it won't truncate or cut off the end of that title. I'd recommend then as a subtitle in there. So we're going to be focusing on Squarespace as our platform for this clearly. So if we put then subtitle in a heading 2, that will match the heading 2 styles that you have set throughout your website in your style section in Squarespace. The title will of course match the blog title, which will take on a heading 1 structure, I believe. We can then got our paragraph content. I've left a space here because it's always good whenever possible to add in an image into the content. If you're working in Squarespace, you may have to add an image in twice, so you'll have to put one in the options tab, which will then add a summary image alongside an excerpt option, which is the short paragraph that you see on your summary page. We're focusing today on the detail page or the individual blog item. So we can additionally put in one or multiple photos into our blog post. I'm going to put one in here on the right hand side with the text set to wrap around it, so as the text continues it'll just flow underneath. That's by clicking and dragging on the image, and as you move it over to the right hand side, instead of it showing a line to show where the image will go, it'll show a box, semi-transparent box, kind of like that. Once we've added the image in, we can then, if we want to, add in a caption below the image. I'd recommend doing that. It's another way of summarizing what the article's about. It also works really well on search engines because we're just increasing the amount of those keywords or the keyword density in through the blog post. So that's kind of a very straightforward, simple structure that many clients will create their news stories or blog posts in that format. That's nothing revolutionary, so what we're going to do now is look at ways and little tips and tricks that I've used over the years that will help to get more out of your blog post without having to write excess content just for the sake of it. Our next step is we could, if we wanted to, put in a quote, and there is a quote block feature within Squarespace that manages the styling for you. So you could add in your quote, which will be styled as per the site. Sometimes it's got a line to the left, and it can look quite a nice way of breaking up the content on your website. You'll then have the author information that will automatically put in position. The size of that font, the font type and the colour can all be changed via the admin. I believe actually with colour you would need to change that via some custom code. So once we have our quote block in place, we can now look at other ways of enhancing the page. So you could either then add in additional content, a gallery block, which can show multiple images in a grid format or even on a slideshow. Or what we're going to do here is we're going to tail or round up the blog article with some call to actions. One option, an obvious option then would be kind of a contact us call to action, something that dropped in there. But I'm talking about something else in terms of what additional reading have we got available once you've read through the post. Here we could put in related articles, and you can add these via a summary block feature, or you could use a third-party plugin. The one I'd recommend is one from SQSP Themes. I can send over a link, just give me a shout. And that is really good value for money because it will auto-feed related posts depending on what tags and categories that you've added in for your blog post. The final option I wanted to run through with this, which is a nice additional feature, is you can put an about the author section. So if you have a look at any of the Pixelhaze Academy articles, you'll see that this is at the bottom of the site. So here you could have basically the title and a summary about the author, and then potentially a click through call to action. To style this, you may need to use some custom code to get it to look exactly as you want. The way I've got it set up on my site is I use a gallery that's not on a menu called authors, and then I use the categories as a way of differentiating which author has written which article. So in that case, in this instance, I may have 6 or 7 authors who are contributing to the content of the website. I can then put a category name for each of them, and then I just use that then to filter out the rest and only show the one that I want. I've also used some custom styling, so that means that all of these summary blocks that I've added in on blog posts match the styling, so it takes me 10 seconds to add an about the author section. I'm going to write a blog post about how you can create that. I'm also going to make the code that I've created available to Pixelhaze Academy members. But the about the author is a really nice way of tying everything in. And then if we just go back through everything, we've got a title, subtitle. Subtitles can be used then heading 2s or 3s throughout the content, especially for longer blog posts. We've got an image in there with a title on there. Our quote block, we can then, if we want to have more content, but I've run out of space on this particular example, which of course you wouldn't on a website. And we've got the call to action button. Then we've got related articles. Then finally about the author. That's quite a lot of information. That's taken something that was this length and almost doubling it by just adding a few more features.